So the next book we're going to be reviewing is Rolfing Structural Integration, what it achieves, how it works, and whom it helps, by Georg Brecklinghaus. Now, I got this book at our campus bookstore. Occasionally, they'll just kind of go through and get rid of a bunch of old books they don't really deem necessary to keep anymore. So they'll just, throw them out for free on a big table, and then they give access to all of us students to see if we want to, grab and keep any of them. So I picked this one up, and I'd heard of Rolfing before. I know a couple of friends that are certified Rolfing practitioners, and I kind of had an idea of what they do, but I was pretty surprised at how few student interns on campus actually didn't even know what Rolfing was. The clinicians had an idea, but even if they had an idea, they didn't really know exactly what it entailed, what Rolfing really was. And most of the students, like 90% of students, didn't even know what it is. They never heard of it. So that was kind of interesting. Rolfing, according to Wikipedia, because Wikipedia, is a form of alternative medicine originally developed by Ida Rolf as structural integration. It is typically delivered as a series of 10 hands-on physical manipulation sessions, sometimes called the recipe. It is based on Rolf's ideas about how the human body's energy field can benefit when aligned with the Earth's gravitational field. Practitioners combine superficial and deep manual therapy with movement prompts. The process is sometimes painful, and it is not necessarily, there's not a whole lot of evidence stating that it is effective. It's even in Wikipedia here called a pseudoscience, or as quackery. So Rolf even says, I don't know why it works, I only know that it works. And this happens all the time in chiropractic, with Reiki, with Rolfing, spiritual practices, religious practices. All of a sudden, someone does something and it fixes a totally different problem they've been dealing with. For example, you go get Rolfed, or you go get a chiropractic adjustment, and they worked on your muscles and they realigned your joints, but all of a sudden your constipation is gone. Your overall mood is better. You're sleeping better. Your libido goes up. Your sex drive goes up. We don't know necessarily why this is happening. We just know that these are things that people experience when they go see mind-body wellness practitioners and they get adjusted or manual therapy or whatever it is. So there's a lot of parallels between Rolfing and chiropractic. And so chiropractic was founded much longer ago, but Rolfing was kind of this thing that blew up in the 70s, 80s, 90s, I believe. I'm trying to see exactly when it came around, but it kind of died off, and it's not really as big as it used to be. But there's Rolfing practitioners all over the place, United States and I believe the world. And their ideas are quite similar to chiropractic when it was first starting, in that you got to align the body so that it can move more efficiently, and the flow of energy within it is more efficient too. So what they're talking about is, with Rolfing, it's all about loosening up the tissues, working with the fascia, which is the connective tissue within your body, and helping it realign itself, and then using what do they say, movement prompts, but that's like rehab exercises like we do in chiropractic or physical therapy, where it's like, okay, do these exercises so that you have better posture and alignment. And now, because gravity's always pushing down on you, with better posture, the muscles will be in better positions, and they won't get as tight easily. They'll move more effectively. You'll be less likely to be injured in the future, etc. So very similar, and I found that really cool. I can see why it gains so much momentum, because these things do work. When you work with someone's body, you help them loosen up their tight muscles, their fascia, realign their joints, teach them how to move more effectively. The Pandora's box opens up, and all of a sudden it's like, wow, I feel better. You get all these other benefits. My digestion's better. My skin health is improving, whatever it is, and you get all these other benefits. There's so much more to this than we can describe. And I believe that's why science has such a problem kind of identifying and trying to prove these, and why they call like Rolfing, for example, a pseudoscience, is because science is so focused on defining as opposed to admitting that there's so many different factors that can play a role in everything. And that's why placebo is such a big deal. Is like, just even your mind and your belief system can dramatically change the results that you have with certain medical conditions and other issues you might have. Anyway, let's not go too tangential here and actually stay with the book. So a scientific study, which was conducted in California in 1973, demonstrated that the muscles of Rolfed individuals, or individuals who received Rolfing, contract for a shorter period of time than those of unrolfed people doing the same movements. Thus, energy expenditure becomes more even, and muscle activity in those areas of the body that are not directly involved with the movement decreases. So less energy is wasted on unnecessary muscle activity, and in general, movements tend to be more fluid, more spacious, and less forced. So I don't know the details of this scientific study, but I get what they're saying, and it makes perfect sense to me. What they're saying is people that experience body work, they develop better mind-body awareness. On top of that, they move their body more efficiently, which means that it requires less energy to do certain movements than it would if you were, say, really tight and had bad posture and weren't getting massages or fitness cues or whatever you want to call it. So other muscles in the body will move more effectively, even if there are areas that weren't focused on in the therapy session. And you'll just be less likely to waste energy. You'll be moving more efficiently. The joints will sit in their right places, and all the muscles will hold less tension. So you're going to burn less calories. You're going to feel better. You're going to be less likely to get injured when doing certain movements. You get all these other benefits. Maybe your organs will sit in better position, so your digestion improves. That all makes perfect sense to me. And I'm glad that they did a study on that, and I'd like more studies on that, because they also talk about how when you get any sort of manual therapy and body work done, you're actually developing a stronger sense of awareness. So let's say you come to me, I'm an intern at the campus health center, and I give you a chiropractic adjustment, and I do some manual therapy or muscle massage. So you come in, and as I'm poking and grabbing and touching certain muscles, as I'm adjusting and setting the bones and the joints in different positions, you are feeling where I am interacting with your body. And so you are able to gain a better understanding of your own body, its position in space, and overall awareness. So that can also help to improve your posture and alignment and how you deal with gravity every single day. So the book goes into a lot of really cool things. They talk about, certain postural dysfunctions, certain muscles we get. This is all stuff we learned in chiropractic school. So, there's tons of parallels. They talk about certain visual or certain like metaphors that you can use to help people more efficiently hold their posture. So for example, one of them is to imagine you have like a air balloon in your chest and it's lifting you up, and then your pelvis is a basket in the air balloon. So instead of trying to like force yourself into a certain posture, float up like you're an air balloon and then let that basket just hang and float. So now as you walk, your pelvis is more fluid and it's naturally rocking, versus as you walk trying to like hold yourself like a robot in a better position. And that's what, I mean, I could dive into the 10 series. They get into that in this book, how the sessions kind of progress if you go to a Rolfing practitioner, how they treat an individual and how they work them through steps to gain a well-rounded, holistic approach to the person's body. But if you want to read that, check out the book. I'm sure you can find it on Amazon or something. But I'll end with this. Do not create a fixed image of what your body should be like. When people are going through the changes of Rolfing, as former postural and movement patterns are breaking up, they may feel tempted to stand up straight. But putting yourself in a good position consciously would only create new tensions. Instead, allow your body to be new and different. Appreciate your body's wisdom and do experiment with the new movement possibilities and exercises your Rolfer teached you. So, what are they saying there? How often when we talk about posture and fitness, like in general, weightlifting, holding good positioning when you're doing something, posture if you're a musician, how you hold your violin or how you work with the piano, how often do we talk about posture and then internalize it as, I need to hold this position right, I need to make sure my posture is correct, I need to straighten my back and really focus on it. But what they're saying in that quote, and I totally get it, and I this is what I tell patients when I work with them as an intern at the health center, is that when I'm teaching you a rehab exercise, or I'm teaching you how to hold your posture in a certain way, say when you're sitting, typing at the computer, driving the car, whatever, is I don't want you to try and force it, okay? Good posture could be, for example, could be straighten the neck, and like lift the chest. But forcing it actually creates more muscle tension. So you're going to be using more energy. You're going to be less likely to hold that good posture longer, and you're going to fall into bad habits again, like slouching and going into bad positions because you get tired of doing it. It's hard. But what that quote in the book is getting at, and we have this term in Kung Fu called Zhongding and another term called Song. And it's crucial if you want to develop good posture, is that you got to do it almost effortlessly, or more fluidly, I should say. So Zhongding in Kung Fu is a Chinese term for straightening up the body, not forcing it up, but elongating the spine, still keeping, healthy natural curves, but straightening up. In yoga, they sometimes will talk about like a chain pulling from the crown of your head back here, pulling straight up. So not from the front, so you don't do this or straighten like this. You want to pull it from the back of the crown so it straightens your neck like so. So you can visualize like your spinal segments all elongating straight up. So that's Zhongding. And then Song is best translated, I think, from Chinese to English as a lifeless flesh suit on a hanger. So kind of like floating. Imagine yourself like floating in water and just like your head is above water and it's like a buoy getting pulled up and you're just floating, right? So straighten the spine, Zhongding, have good posture, but then Song, be like a puppet on strings where you're floating more in space. There are definitely times to contract, When I'm floating around with good posture and then I need to, I can contract, right? Like I can, boom, create muscle contraction when I need it. But in reality, when I'm not needing that contraction, I should be able to effortlessly hold my body. It's not fully, I'm not like turned off. I'm not like, bleh, but I'm just very barely holding it in the good posture. I'm using less energy. So there's less tension within my body. And there is in Taoism, there's a term called Satori, which is like enlightenment. In Buddhism or other, it could be called nirvana. It could be called connecting to God. I don't know what you want to call it, a spiritual awakening of some kind. But in Taoism, it's called Satori. And one time a student asked a master, what does Satori feel like? And the master replied, it's like walking around in everyday life, but 2 inches off the ground. So this is ingraining that concept. If you want to have good posture, and what they're talking about in this Rolfing book, is that it's not about trying to force it. If you want to lift a weight properly, have good stability and strength, but don't try to force it. Instead, float through it. When you're walking around in life, don't try to hold yourself in a certain way. Try to get good posture, but then be like that puppet. Be that lifeless flesh suit in the hangar. Float through it. And then your mind relaxes. Your body relaxes. You're using less energy. You're able to breathe more slowly and more expansively. And you just feel better, to be honest.